Okay. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, so today we will be reading from the Aṅguttara Nikāya, Book of Eights, and it is the sutta number 49 entitled The Present World. So this was a sutta that the Buddha gave to Visakha Migaramata, whom we discussed her life and her story a couple of weeks back. Okay, and I am reading from Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation, the text from Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation, page number 1185. Okay, so let's start by reading this. On the present world. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Savatthi in Migaramata's mansion in the Eastern Park. Okay, so if you remember, we discussed about where this Migaramata's mansion is, or the palace of Migara's mother, also known as Pubarama. So it's on the eastern direction of where Jetavana Monastery is. So this is in Savatthi. Then Visakha Migaramata approached the Blessed One, paid homage to him, and sat down to one side. The Blessed One then said to her, Visakha, possessing 4 qualities, a woman is heading for victory in the present world, and her life in this world succeeds. What for? Here, a woman is capable at her work. She manages the domestic help. She behaves agreeably to her husband, and she safeguards his earnings. So here we have to understand the context of the time of Visakha Migaramata and also the time of the Buddha. So during those days, it's kind of society or common expectation that, a woman, when they are of marriageable age, that they find a suitable husband, and then they build a family, etc., etc., and then they take care of the household matters, etc., etc. Yeah, so this was, of course, more than almost 2,600 years ago. Of course, today we are in present times. Our society has changed a lot. A lot more, a lot more women actually go out to work, or even share household duties and household responsibilities. Both parties, both husband and wife, share responsibilities. Yeah. Nevertheless, I think it's still useful to read this from the perspective of the understanding of why the Buddha highlighted this based on the setting those days, but also the understanding of the reason why it's important. Of course, the family is really the foundation that supports society. Having good family structure then will ensure that the society as well will be in a good state and will be harmonious. Yeah. So the Buddha gave this talk to Visakha Migaramata from the perspective of also what would be an ideal situation to maintain that harmonious foundational aspect in society, especially for lay people. All right, so let's continue. Number 1, and how, Visakha, is a woman capable at her work? Here, a woman is skillful and diligent in attending to her husband's domestic chores. Whether knitting or weaving, she possesses sound judgment about them in order to carry out and arrange them properly. It is in this way that a woman is capable at her work. So here, a lot of some examples here given in terms of domestic chores. So here, of course, it's talking about, let's say, a woman that's her sole responsibility is as a housewife. So managing the house chores. Here, 2 examples given, knitting or weaving, because that was common in those days, but it doesn't have to necessarily limit to that. Basically, it's, making sure that whatever is domestic chores at home is covered correctly. Now, we have to also be mindful and bear in mind that, of course, the Buddha knew very well Visakha, what her responsibilities are at home. Obviously, she came from a wealthy family, and she also married a wealthy merchant son. So she may not need to necessarily do all these herself, but she would have a whole lot of servants to manage. So this comes to the second thing. And how does a woman manage the domestic help? Here, a woman finds out what her husband's domestic helpers, whether slaves, messengers, or workers, have done and left undone. She finds out the condition of those who are ill, and she distributes to each an appropriate portion of food. It is in this way that a woman manages the domestic help. So here, it's in a way very applicable to Visakha, but also in general. So if, let's say, we think of modern world today, a lot of women, of course, if their husband runs a business, then naturally, whether or not the wife is directly involved in that business or not, indirectly, she will somehow be of a certain influence anyway. Yeah? A lot of times when, simple business, let's say, family business, a lot of times the husband is the one kind of like like a CEO or something, managing the strategy, managing the direction, how should the company or how should the business be managed, run, how do I look for customers, etc. And a lot of times, if the wife is involved in the business and if they are hiring people, it's quite common that, the wife is the one that's managing the workers, taking care of, kind of like a human resource manager, something like that. Of course, I don't want to over generalize here, but it is quite common. So even if it's a very small family-run food business, let's say, whereas the husband and the wife, and maybe they hire an additional helper, let's say, naturally, because of the nature of the wife, let's say, it's quite common, that the wife is kind of like, okay, taking care of the matters involving that additional helper, so to speak. So we can think of this point in many aspects. It could also mean, let's say nowadays, some households, maybe have children or an elderly at home, a grandparent at home. And so it could be like, if let's say both husband and wife have to work somehow to support the family, then sometimes an extra domestic help is hired, right, at home. And naturally, again, it falls on the wife, the mother, to oversee that hiring of the domestic help, training them up and things like that. So it's a natural thing. It's not like it's been mandated like that, but it naturally falls into play. Okay. Number 3. And how does a woman behave agreeably to her husband? Here, a woman would not commit any misdeed that her husband could consider disagreeable, even at the cost of her life. It is in this way that a woman behaves agreeably to her husband. So this is very interesting. Basically, it does give a bit of perspective that the woman in a household, in a family, does have a responsibility to, in a way, uphold the family name, not do something, not commit anything that would that the husband would not agree to, because by doing so, then of course, depending on how severe the deed is, how unagreeable it is to the husband, that can cause a lot of disagreement, a lot of arguments, misunderstandings, etc., etc. And that really starts to affect the foundation of the family, really. So it's very important. And of course, this is not only, the way I see it, don't take my word as gospel. This is just my own personal opinion. It also goes the other way. So the husband should not do any misdeed that the wife would consider disagreeable. So ideally, it is both parties already have some sort of understanding on what they would consider as disagreeable acts or misdeeds, and have that kind of understanding, mutual understanding. And in that way, that is the foundation of building and maintaining a harmonious environment at home. Okay. Number 4. And how does a woman safeguard his earnings? Here, a woman guards and protects whatever income her husband brings home, whether money or grain, silver or gold, and she is not a spendthrift, thief, wastrel, or squanderer of his earnings. It is in this way that a woman safeguards his earnings. So this, of course, is quite basic, but sometimes can be overlooked. And this includes, make sure that a good understanding of what is the income of the household. So let's say in the present day, if it is both husband and wife are working, are both income earners, there should be a mutual understanding of, okay, so how much should we spend? How much should we put aside for rainy day? How much should we invest, for example, etc., right? So these kind of conversations and mutual agreements should take place. And here, of course, it said a woman should not squander his earnings. That was from the perspective of those days where a majority of the women don't go out to work, they stay at home. But bear in mind, I keep thinking, of course, the Buddha gave this talk to Visakha Migaramata, but he would also know that she's not just an ordinary housewife. She also ran her own business, etc., etc. So it's a general perspective that is make sure that the household income, the expenditure does not exceed the income, and things are not, spent on unnecessarily, squandered, etc. Because money and especially matters related to money, if not managed well in a household, can cause a huge amount of disagreement, misunderstanding, etc., and can affect quite severely the harmony in a household. Okay, so these are the 4 things in terms of what's called the present world. For if a woman manages these things well, these 4 things well, that is capable at her work, manages the domestic help at home. The first 2 are with relation to basically taking care of household chores, anything to do with at home. So she needs to be able to manage this well so that they run smoothly. Then behave agreeably. Don't do anything that her husband would not disagree, would disagree, and also not squander his wealth. So safeguard, manage it well, okay? Possessing these 4 qualities, a woman is heading for victory in the present world, and her life in this world succeeds. Okay, possessing 4 other qualities, Visakha. A woman is heading for victory in the other world, and her life in the other world succeeds. So in the other world means beyond, yeah, not just current. What for? Here, a woman is accomplished in faith, accomplished in virtuous behavior, accomplished in generosity, and accomplished in wisdom. So 4 qualities that the Buddha mentioned specifically here, and it's mentioned for a lay person to practice. The 4 qualities are the attributes of faith, of virtuous behavior, basically the precepts, generosity, and wisdom. Okay. And how, Visakha, is a woman accomplished in faith? Here, a woman is endowed with faith. She places faith in the enlightenment of the Tathagata thus. The Blessed One is an Arahant, perfectly enlightened, accomplished in true knowledge and conduct, fortunate, knower of the world, unsurpassed trainer of persons to be tamed, teacher of devas and humans, the enlightened one, the Blessed One. It is in this way that a woman is accomplished in faith. So this excuse me. This paragraph really is just reciting the qualities of the Buddha. So in very common in Buddhist countries that practice present-day Theravada Buddhism, yeah, this is really the recitation a lot of times in the beginning, after the paying of homage, then it's like Itipiso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vijja Charana and so on and so forth, spelling out the qualities of the Buddha. And this paragraph really is talking about what that means. What does being endowed with faith means? It doesn't mean to recite that again and again and again. What it means is to have that understanding of what were the qualities of the Buddha, what made the Buddha, as an enlightened, or what do you call that, perfectly enlightened teacher, and who was able to, here it said, tame, unsurpassed trainer of persons to be tamed, teacher of devas and humans. And also he's knower of the world. So having that kind of an understanding helps one increase our faith in the Buddha. Okay, so it's not just merely reciting those words, but really having that understanding and then building faith on that. Right, so that's the first one. Number 2, and how is a woman accomplished in virtual behavior? Here, a woman abstains from the destruction of life. Let me see. Okay, so the ... here really is going through the 5 precepts. So abstains from the destruction of life, and then I'll go back to the previous sutta that we talked about on the precepts. So abstain from the destruction of life. We go back to 8.41 or 8.42, where we talked about before. Abstain from taking what is not freely given. Abstain from or abandon so this one, abandon sexual activity and observe celibacy. That's only for Uposatha days, but basically also abstain from sexual misconduct. Yes. Then number 4, abstain from false speech, etc., etc. Excuse me. And abstain from liquor, wine, and intoxicants. Okay, so passage number 6 with the ... here really is going back to the 5 precepts. And in this way, a woman is accomplished in virtuous behavior. Okay, so you can see as we go through these additional 4 qualities, it really is not just limited to a woman. So we have to have that understanding that here it's in, the Buddha gave this sutta to Visakha, who was a woman. But really, from a perspective of the practice, it doesn't matter whether a person is a man or a woman. Yeah, or associated with any other in that matter. What's more important is the understanding as a human being, what are the qualities that we need to cultivate, we need to practice in order to be successful, not only in this current life, but also in the future as well, as a human being in general. Okay, so we just covered faith and we covered virtuous behavior. Number 3. What's the third one? And how is a woman accomplished in generosity? Here, a woman dwells at home with a heart devoid of the stain of miserliness. So that means she's not stingy, okay? Freely generous, open-handed, delighting in relinquishment, devoted to charity, delighting in giving and sharing. So she's not stingy, she is generous, but also she delights in being generous, or she's happy when she shares. So this is important, the word delighting in giving and sharing. So a lot of times we have to understand when we are doing, when we're performing a generous act, or when we're trying to cultivate generosity and not be stingy or miser, or be a miser. We have to do it happily, not because someone forced us or we feel obliged because we're being, coerced, let's say, into giving something. If we're not happy doing it, it doesn't have the same effect. And it's not about the amount of how much we want to give. And it doesn't have to be money. It can be food. It can be, time. It can be any form of giving. But what is more important really is that when we perform that act of giving, that we are giving happily. And that's really important. It is in this way that a woman is accomplished in generosity. And how is a woman accomplished in wisdom? Here, a woman is wise. She possesses the wisdom that discerns arising and passing away, which is noble and penetrative and leads to the complete destruction of suffering. And it's in this way that a woman is accomplished in wisdom. So here, as what Bhante Vimalaramsi shared with us before, whenever we see the word wisdom, it is like a code word. It is with reference to dependent origination. So meaning to say that if we are accomplished in the understanding of dependent origination and how that process of dependent origination works, then that is what we are trying to achieve here. Okay? Possessing these 4 qualities, Visakha, a woman is heading for victory in the other world, and her life in the other world succeeds. And then there are 4 verses here. So the verses are capable in attending to her work, managing the domestic help. She treats her husband in agreeable ways and safeguards the wealth he earns. Rich in faith, possessed of virtue, charitable and devoid of miserliness, she constantly purifies the path that leads to safety in the future life. They call any woman who has these 8 qualities virtuous, firm in DHAMMA, a speaker of truth, accomplished in 16 aspects, complete in 8 factors. Such a virtuous female lay follower is reborn in an agreeable Deva world. Okay, so here in the book, there is a reference, accomplished in 16 aspects. What does that refer to? So let me just check at the index section for the text, number 1726. Bear with me. 1, excuse me, 1726. Okay, so here the commentary given. What does that mean, accomplish in 16 aspects? The commentary says, the reference is not immediately clear from the text itself. Okay. The 8 stated in the sutta, that means we covered the 4 for the present world and future world. And the 8 in the stanzas make 16 aspects. Or the 8 she herself possesses, and the same 8 in which she enjoins others make 16 aspects. So it's not exactly very clear what accomplished in 16 aspects really means. So one idea is 8 from the sutta itself, and then 8 from the stanzas. But when we read through the stanzas, it's exactly the same as in the sutta itself. And then the other idea is these 8 qualities that she herself possesses, and the remaining 8 is in which she enjoins others, or I'm not too familiar with the word enjoin. I'm assuming that when she displays these characters, that she encourages others to do the same as well. That's just, again, my own personal opinion, so don't take it as gospel. But yeah, for me, what is useful is from the perspective of the first 4 qualities that we talked about are really to help us govern a harmonious family from a normal layperson perspective. How do we take care of the family unit? How do we ensure that a family unit functions well and is harmonious? Because a family unit really is the foundation of a society. So if everyone can take care of their family units well, by practicing these 4 qualities, then that already encourages a harmonious society, harmonious living. Then the remaining 4, the way I see it, is how to practice those 4 so that we cultivate our journey on the path to enlightenment. So cultivating faith, the precepts, keeping the precepts, cultivating generosity, and practicing the understanding more and more of dependent origination. These 4 qualities, if cultivated well, will help us grow more and more in this journey that we are all trying to work towards. Okay. So very simple sutta, not nothing too deep here, but I thought it would be still interesting just to have a read on what the Buddha kind of shared with Visakha. Okay, and actually 8.50, the next sutta after this, the Buddha gave the same sutta to the bhikkhus, okay, to the order of the monks as well. All right, so that's really today's reading. Any questions, or anyone have any thoughts they want to share? Yes, no.
Hello,
Hello, how are you?
hello, May.
Hello,
It was it
Sachin.
was
Hi,
it was
I'm
nice
good.
to
How are
start today.
you?
Fine, we are fine.
Ah,
Just
good.
like in the sutta, there is accomplishment in 16 aspects, complete in 8 factors. Can you repeat it? I could not able to get these 16 aspects.
Okay. So let me go back to the commentary. Yeah. So the commentary given by Bhikkhu Bodhi, he admitted that it's not entirely clear. But let me just, sorry, I had it and then I flipped it away for one moment.
Fine.
1726. Okay. So Bhikkhu Bodhi's commentary, he admitted the reference is not immediately clear from the text itself. So he admitted that.
Fine.
He said, so he gave two ideas. So the first one, the 8 qualities that are stated in the sutta and the 8 in the stanzas make 16 aspects. That's one idea. Okay. I find that a little bit odd because the 8 in the stanzas really is a repeat or a summary, shortened form of the suttas. So it's the same theme. The second idea is, or the 8 she herself possesses, and the same 8 in which she enjoins others makes 16. Let me see what the word enjoin means. So I'm just going to quickly go to ask Google. What does enjoin mean? Okay, yeah. Yeah, so enjoin means instruct or urge someone to do something. But the way I would think is more like if a woman practices these 8 qualities, so she herself has these 8 qualities naturally demonstrated or naturally demonstrate is not the right word. So if a person practices these 8 qualities naturally, then whoever is around her would be able to see these 8 qualities and hopefully be encouraged to do the same. Be encouraged, no, inspired to do the same. So the word enjoin here is trying to imply that she's urging someone else to follow her, which I find we don't normally do that, do we? Normally we are kind of like, if we are practicing, let's say, we are smiling all the time, yeah, then naturally when people come into contact with us, they would feel encouraged to do the same. So if we are always practicing generosity, we are very generous with our time, with our whatever it is, we are generous with helping other people, then naturally that will inspire others to do the same. So I would think this would be a nicer way of thinking. Does that kind of explain things though?
Yes, you have done your
Yeah.
best.
Yeah, this is from Bhikkhu Bodhi's commentary. So there may be other thoughts, not sure, not
It's
very
very good
clear, is it?
sutta. Really, it's very good sutta, like which is relevant to the modern life where one can inspire. It is specifically to the lay devotees, female lay
Correct,
devotees specifically. It
correct,
is
correct.
very good in that sense. How we have to manage our life being a lay
Yes,
devotee. It is a very good sutta.
yeah. So it's not overly how should I say, deep. It's very basic advice, I guess. One can think of
Yes,
it, very
truly.
basic advice. But
Basic advice.
again, mm, Yeah, basic advice, but again, it's the kind of advice where if you just focus on these 8, you will have a good life. You don't have to, because modern life, we are all busy with numerous things. Visakha herself was very, very, very busy. I cannot imagine her sitting in the corner from day to night, just knitting and cooking and whatever. She had to manage a big household. She had, what was it, 20 children, her own business. So she was an amazing woman. So of course I'm thinking, this is again my personal opinion, that the Buddha would be having all this in his mind, thinking, what sort of advice can he give her? But also it's generic advice that everyone, well, in this case, every woman can take as well. And focused, as we know, the Buddha is very efficient. Everything that he does, he's very efficient. So yeah.
Truly.
Mm.
And for information that today there's a talk at 9:30 IST. It will be late in Australian time. Anyone interested can join. It is available. Link is available.
Yes. So the link has been, I saw the link. So some people who dialed in are
Shall I share
based in
that
the
link?
UK. Yep, you can share the link, please.
Share the link.
So those who dialed in, if you have time, let's see, what time is the so 9:30 IST would be.
Yes, I got the link and yes, at this link there is a page of Zoom link.
Yeah. Okay. So starts in about 4 hours. Is that right? Is it in about 4 hours? Paul is asking.
4 and 5 hours. It's 16 hours. It's 21:30 hours. Now it is 16:20 hours. It is around 5 hours, 10 minutes.
Okay. So in about 5 hours time.
We have in our group, Nanda Pirara madam, do you want to share anything? Nanda madam.
It is an excellent talk, very, very useful. Thank you very much. Very relevant to females, not only females, I think everyone. It is a great talk. Thank you very much. I appreciate it very, very much. Once again, thank you very much. It's great.
Thank you for sharing. I'm glad you liked it, found it useful.
Why do you want to say something, share something? Paul,
Yeah.
how is
Okay.
your meditation going on?
Most welcome.
And Gopinath, do you want to share something? Gopinath sir. Okay, fine.
It's okay. I think maybe we can end today's session, I guess, by sharing the merits. If no one else has anything they'd like to share.
Yes, you can share merit.
Yeah, okay. Let me just bring this up. Okay, so I hope everyone can see this.
Yes.
Okay, so let's share the merits together. May
May
suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear-struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we have thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, May. Thanking you all for
Right.
joining. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for dialing in. I wish everyone a pleasant week ahead and keep smiling, everyone.
Thank you, May.
Take
Thank
care.
you. Thank you, Nanda ma'am. Thank you, Pai. Thank you, Paul.
Bye.
Bye-bye.